11. 11. We know what we do.
The rebels, many of them still in their teens, were heavily armed and preparing for battle. The Robusoro Bridge had been blown up by the retreating government forces, but only after slaughtering civilians on the river bank. Bodies were still trapped under the fallen bridge. General Kagame was at the front, preparing his troops for battle. General, where does all these ammunition and weapons come from?
We buy them. We buy them from the contribution given by the Rwandese community internally here and in diaspora. There have been a very large Rwandese community outside Rwanda. We also capture a lot of equipment from the government forces.
I see a lot of South African weaponry.
Yes, you can be sure that one was captured from the Rwandese government because they have been buying lots of arms from South Africa.
Rwanda.
Yeah, it's already had a wash.
Place where you give them space to have a sleep, you know?
This is Paul Kagame, President of the Republic of Rwanda, a small country in East Africa, where 25 years ago went through a horrific ordeal where hundreds of thousands of Tutsis were massacred in a genocide, scenes not seen before, only comparable to the worst of human atrocities such as the Holocaust and the like. This is Paul Kagame, who has been hailed by many as someone who has done wonders and miracles in a country that went through such horrific events 25 years ago. Here he is standing with many world leaders, receiving accolades and awards, and being hailed like some kind of savior of that nation. This is Kibeho, a place in the southern part of Rwanda which receives many tourists, many who come on pilgrimages, as it's a special site for many who are in the Roman Catholic faith, a place of beauty, a place of serenity and spirituality, but a place with a horrific past. On the 22nd of April 1995, a year after the genocide in Rwanda. Under Paul Kagame's command, his soldiers, who were then the army of Rwanda, were still killing thousands upon thousands of Hutu civilians, mostly women and children. Many people, because of the war that had taken place since 1990, had been internally displaced, or culminated in a genocide in 1994 following the assassination of President Habyarimana of Rwanda and his Burundian counterpart, an assassination that was ordered by Paul Kagame and sparked this violence like never seen before, had resulted in many people moving from their homes. For Paul Kagame and his army, as they were advancing from Uganda into the country, were killing thousands and thousands of people in the northern part of Rwanda, and many of these people who survived these killings found themselves internally displaced within the country. Some of these people found themselves hiding in a place called Kibeho, where the United Nations peacekeepers had set up a safe zone in which these people thought that they were safe. But on April the 22nd in 1995, Kagame's army, led by Colonel Fred Ibingira, now 4-star General Fred Ibingira, came onto this place where there were mostly women and children and opened fire on the crowd. Australian peacekeepers who were there as part of the United Nations peacekeeping force give testimony that there is nothing they could do to stop Kagame's army massacring thousands of people as they watched. 8,000 people lost their lives on that day, and that is a number which many dispute and in fact say more died. Some of the people who were there say that some of the bodies were carried into the Nyungwe forest and burned, and so in fact many more people lost their lives on that day. The president of Rwanda
je dirais que ce sont mon mari à la place. Vous voyez comment ils ont fait.
For you to get the truth about what is really going and what is really happening in Congo. And guess what? What I want to say here, the first point I will have as I share with you, I wanted to show you that we can't speak the history of Congo without have any comment or without speak about Rwanda. I would not speak the history of Congo for many years back. My history will start at least 1996 to 1990, all the way to this day, when I will be able to comment to Rwanda. And I decided to do these three topics because of the two comments my viewer has put here. One was trying to prove that actually we need to vote Tshisekedi out. In his perspective, I think, or she, I don't know if it's she or he is here, either he can be able to comment if we'll be able to see this video. She just shouted that we need to vote Tshisekedi out. I believe she believes Tshisekedi is the problem. And the second one, he said that actually Kagame, what he's doing, is doing it in sake for protecting his country because there is a FDLR in Congo, and all those kind of details she try also to prove. But also I want to say this, that FDLR is the motive to use only to go to steal gold and diamond and silver in Congo. There is no FDLR in Congo. And I will prove you why I believe like this, that there is actually no FDLR in Congo. So the first point is to show you, I will tell you briefly the history and what was happening in Rwanda. I will show you what was happening in Congo, and I will prove.
We finally met the advancing rebel force at Kanyaru River in southern Rwanda. The rebels, many of them still in their teens, were heavily armed and preparing for battle. The Rwanda bridge had been blown up by the retreating government forces, but only after slaughtering civilians on the river bank. Bodies were still trapped under the fallen bridge. General Kagame was at the front, preparing his troops for battle. General, where does all these ammunition and weapons come from?
We buy them. We buy them from the contribution given by Rwanda and community internally here and in diaspora. There have been a very large Rwandese community outside Rwanda. We also capture a lot of equipment from the government forces.
I see a lot of South African weaponry.
Yes, you can be sure that one was captured from the Rwandese government, because they have been buying lots of arms from South Africa.
Rwanda is indeed littered with South African weapons. This rebel soldier is armed with a captured R4 rifle. Not far from the bridge, we came across an unusual sight. Hundreds of men dressed in pink outfits. They were all prisoners, many of them hardened criminals, released by rebel forces from a jail in the town of Nyanza. They all said they were now going to join the rebel army.
We are free, but even though we are still wearing these clothes, they have promised us that we are free. We are not still prisoners, even though we are wearing these clothes.
Are you going to help the RPF now?
I must.
It's telling you the location of Rwanda. Like in the north, there is Uganda. Then in the east, there is Tanzania. Then in the west, there is Congo, which used to be Zaire. Then in the south, there is Burundi. Now, Rwanda is in the central of, or in the middle of those four countries, where in north is Uganda, south is Burundi, east is Tanzania, and the west is DRC Congo. Why is it very important to share that? It's because also it's connected with the history of the story I just want to share briefly. Let me say that in the former government of Rwanda, the government of Habyarimana, they was to have a good relationship with DRC Congo, which used to be Zaire, and the president of that nation used to be Mobutu Sese Seko Mobutu. And now, on the other hand, RPF, who used to be like rebellion before they come in power, they used to be in a good relationship with Uganda. Also, they used to be in relationship with Burundi, somehow, not Burundi, but they used to be in a good relationship with Tanzania and Uganda. And it's very important for me to say that the president of Burundi has been died in the airplane, which was shooted before the genocide of Tutsi started in Rwanda. And I could not want to go in this direction to come to speak about the history of Rwanda. If there was a way for skipping it, I would do better just speak at that topic. But because God has put me in this position to pray for DRC in this season, that is the reason why I want to share this. Now, because of that, you see, the person who took in power, all the way Burundi used to build a strategy, somehow they was connected with other, they have the same tribe. Rwanda and Burundi, they have the same tribe. Hutu and the Tutsi and the Batwa. And once like the air was shooted, I think somehow it was a Tutsi who came in power. and somehow was supporting the government, the barriers who used to be like Wakina Kagame and his team or in the RPF. So now once they come in power, what was happening is that the Rwandese, especially in tribe of Hutu, they could not get another country to go in except to just go in DRC Congo where there was a good relationship. But why was it important for the Hutu to go in DRC as a refugee? First is because in the two videos I'm about to share with you, I'll show you how the people was being killed by the army of RPF, and there was no one who were in a position to defend inside the country. And one real option could be happening is the people to free and lash in DRC. And you know, those years there was to be this guy called Sendashonga. He represented in a public, or it was the meeting of the government, where Kagame those days was not yet president, but for somehow was a minister of the army. And in the same way, I think he was one of the biggest, he was having two positions in the government, big position. And this guy was a minister of the government and the development, I think, in the district, if that is how I can put it. And this guy represented that actually in Butare. Butare is one of the place where there is UN University or National University of Rwanda. So these people, they was wise, well educated. So once the RPF took power, especially those guys from Uganda, came in that district, they started to murder people. And on the list, he came representing more than 18,000 people was being killed only in that district. So the people, what happened is that these people of this district, they write the name, they write even the parent of those people, and then in the meeting of the government, this guy, Sendashonga, who was also the minister of the government, he requested Paul Kagame, who was the minister of the army, or like the general of the army in those years, to explain what is happening. So in the video you will see Paul Kagame is saying that actually he did not want to say anything about it because he was busy doing things and making things in arrangement. And what the feeling he was having is to take everyone who was in that government who was asking him a question and put him in chain. So this is the leader who was in Rwanda, who was working with him. And once they asked him a question concerning the country, how the people they are being killed, now only thing he could do is to put them in chain and just put them in prison. That was the feeling. He said that actually he left the meeting and go home and left his car and everything. So later, this guy, Sendashonga, ran away and he came in Kenya and he was assassinated just because of asking that question. So if this person could be free and run away, and this guy, he said actually he has been in this government, or like has been also with Paul Kagame since 1991. It's very important to understand that actually, I think it's very important for me to highlight that the RPF, when they come in Rwanda, they did not come to rescue people from genocide. For the first part, when they used to say actually they want like the refugee Rwandan tribe of Tutsi who was in different places to come back in Rwanda, they want the refugee to come back. Also, the second point they was highlighting is that the government, which the former government of Rwanda used to be dictator and remain in power for long, so they wanted to come with democracy. And the last one, they said they want now to democracy. I think there was highlighting to move a refugee, democracy, and the unity of people.
other things. For people who know, who remember, who have a memory, it's not so long ago. Around 1998. Do you remember somebody called Seti Sendashonga? Muramuzi. Do you also know an author or some academic or something called Prunier? Gerard Prunier, you remember him? Has anyone seen his book called From Genocide to Continental War or something? Does anybody know about the book? You are really something. There is a book he wrote. I think it is From Genocide to Continental War. In that book, you should look for it. He gives a story of before Seti Sendashonga died, 98, how he met him in Nairobi with generals from Uganda, and he even mentioned the name. He mentions the names, and he says he was actually, he says personally, he was in the meeting. In fact, he's the one who introduced. Before that meeting, he's the one who introduced Seti Sendashonga to Uganda, authorities in Uganda. And from that, he says, then subsequent to that meeting, they had a meeting in Nairobi with the generals.
Inama ya guverinoma yabereyemo imyifatire y'abayobozi bashya b'u Rwanda rushya yabereye muri hoteli y'uwa gatanu Nyakanga ku itariki ya 25 z'ukwezi kwa munani mwaka w'1995. Muri iyo nama wari minisitiri w'ubutegetsi bw'igihugu Seti Sendashonga ngo yaramaze gusobanura mu buryo burambuye ukuntu hirya no hino mu gihugu abaturage benshi bicwaga, abandi bakanyerezwa n'ingabo za FPR ari nazo zari ingabo za leta nshya. Ibyo byaba bitarashimije General Paul Kagame wari ukuriye izo ngabo z'igihugu cya FPR Inkotanyi.
Seti Sendashonga icyo gihe yari minisitiri w'ubutegetsi bw'igihugu n'amajyambere ya komine. Ni muri filime Chronique d'un génocide annoncé igice cya 3. Nous nous sommes sentis trahis yakozwe mu mwaka w'1996. Tubisanga ku munota wa 14 n'amasegonda 40 kugeza ku munota wa 17 n'amasegonda 50.
Uru ni urutonde rw'abishwe n'abasirikare wa FPR Inkotanyi ikimara gufata ubutegetsi. Aba bakaba ari abishwe muri perefegitura ya Gitarama gusa. Aya malisiti yakusanijwe n'abaturage kuko kuri bo bwari uburyo bwo gutabaza, gutera kamo. Uru rutonde rw'abishwe barushyikirije Bwana Twagiramungu mu kwezi kwa gatandatu mwaka w'1995. Gitarama ni akarere kazwiho kurwanira ubusugire bw'igihugu. Ni naho revolution y'abaturage yo mu mwaka w'1959 yatangiriye. N'abaturage bajijutse cyane. Abaturage b'Igitarama nibo ba mbere batinyutse gukora urutonde nkuru rw'abishwe. Amalisiti bashyikiriza minisitiri w'intebe kugira ngo bamwereke amarorerwa abasirikare ba FPR Inkotanyi barimo gukora mu gihugu. Aha murabona ni komini ya Nyamabuye, murebe iyi ni segiteri ya Mbuye. Aha hari amazina y'abantu bishwe hamwe n'amazina ya basi na serire bakomokamo n'umunsi abo bantu biciweho mu kwa karindwi mu kwa munani murabona abantu bishwe mu kwezi kwa cyenda ni gutyo urwo rutonde rwakozwe bityo murabona ko muri komini Nyamabuye ubwayo yonyine hari hamaze kwicwa abaturage 723 nateranije amalisiti ya Gitarama gusa nsanga hari hamaze kwicwa abantu 18,000 muri Gitarama yo yonyine gusa.
J'ai été membre du FPR depuis avril 2014.
Nawe muri FPR Inkotanyi kuva mu kwezi kwa kane ku mwaka w'1991 nzi byinshi ku bwicanyi bwose bwakozwe n'abasirikare ba FPR Inkotanyi. FPR yashaka gutegeka byose yonyine kugira ngo ibigereho yagombaga kwica buri muntu wese wagaragaza ubushobozi bwo kuba yabana nawe umutegetsi. Twabonye byinshi. Reka mvuge ukuntu abasirikare bajyaga guhiga abari bakiri bato nko guhera ku myaka 15 kugeza ku bagabo b'imyaka 55 bakabatwara ntibongere kugaruka mu rugo. Imiryango yabo ikirirwa bashakisha mu buroko bwose bw'igihugu ariko ntibigere baboneka. No kuvuga ko abo bantu babaga bishwe n'abasirikare FPR Inkotanyi. Urebye uko byagendaga nuko bibasiraga abasore bakiri bato n'abagabo bafite ingufu zo gukora, ariko cyane cyane abarimu, abagoronome, buri munyabwenge n'undi wese wari ujijutse ku murenge. Abo barashakishwaga ku buryo budasanzwe.
Les instituteurs, les moniteurs agricoles, tout le monde qui pouvait jouer un rôle quelconque au titre d'intellectuel ou bien de leader local était visé de manière tout à fait particulière.
Ingabo za FPR Inkotanyi zimaze gufata ubutegetsi zigenzura aya namwe mu magambo Perezida Paul Kagame yavugiye i Kigali ku itariki ya 12 z'ukwezi kwa 11 umwaka ushize 2022.
ubwo naje nazindutse maze icyumweru ntarakandagira hano ntaragera no mu rugo turi mu ntambara z'abacengezi bava hakurya cyangwa bisha abantu bari hakurya y'amazi mu Kongo na hehe ndaza nkigeraho nsanga hari kabineti mu gitondo ndagenda nkijyamo uko nakabaye bimeze ngira ngo neza nkimara kwicara ubwo kabineti rabiruzi abantu batangira gucana amarenga bakagira bake bakavuga seti Sendashonga atariko arabanza aravuga ngo ni twagira Mungu wabajije Sendashonga ngo natubwire amakuru mu gihugu ko hameze. Sendashonga arabivuga arangije avuga noneho aho mvuye ngira ngo niho hari ni waba hari nabaga za Kibuye aratangira ati ngabo za Kagame, ngabo za RPF zamaze abantu za Kibuye kimbanza kugira ngo nabyumvise nabi mbona n'abandi babigiyemo bari tazani set bivuze ngo iki ati amakuru ati tubona abantu ndavuga set Sendashonga ubu reba ntabwo naraye ndyamye nagendaga ijoro ryose ndirirwa nshakira igihugu umutekano. Ubu wampinduye umwicanyi nijye mwicanyi mwavuze abicanyi bugiye wampinduye umwicanyi murabyibuka yamuremye wari urimo Sendashonga nabaye umwicanyi baturasiriye subiramo nka gatatu ariko ni byiza rimwe na rimwe kwigarura burya uzi cyanje mu mutwe ariko mwari mugiye kubigwamo mwese kandi mutabizi naratekereje abo bantu nze bose mbahambire mpere kuri aba ngaba ngende mbashyire ndakubwiza ukuri byanje mu mutwe mbonye bitari byiza bitashoboka mva mu kabineti ndigenda mvamo ngenda n'amaguru n'imodoka zanjye zisigaho ndataha.
This is Paul Kagame, President of the Republic of Rwanda, a small country in East Africa, where 25 years ago went through a horrific ordeal where hundreds of thousands of Tutsis were massacred in a genocide, scenes not seen before, only comparable to the worst of human atrocities such as the Holocaust and the like. This is Paul Kagame, who has been hailed by many as someone who has done wonders and miracles in the country that went through such horrific events 25 years ago. Here he is standing with many world leaders, receiving accolades and awards, and being hailed like some kind of savior of that nation. This is Kibeho, a place in the southern part of Rwanda which receives many tourists, many who come on pilgrimages, as it's a special site for many who are in the Roman Catholic faith, a place of beauty, a place of serenity and spirituality, but a place with a horrific past. On the 22nd of April 1995, a year after the genocide in Rwanda, under Paul Kagame's command, his soldiers, who were then the army of Rwanda, were still killing thousands upon thousands of Hutu civilians, mostly women and children. Many people, because of the war that had taken place since 1990, had been internally displaced, or culminated in a genocide in 1994 following the assassination of President Habyarimana of Rwanda and his Burundian counterpart, an assassination that was ordered by Paul Kagame and sparked this violence like never seen before, had resulted in many people moving from their homes. For Paul Kagame and his army, as they were advancing from Uganda into the country, were killing thousands and thousands of people in the northern part of Rwanda, and many of these people who survived these killings found themselves internally displaced within the country. Some of these people found themselves hiding in a place called Kibeho, where the United Nations peacekeepers had set up a safe zone in which these people thought that they were safe. But on April the 22nd in 1995, Kagame's army, led by Colonel Fred Ibingira, now 4-star General Fred Ibingira, came onto this place where there were mostly women and children and opened fire on the crowd. Australian peacekeepers who were there as part of the United Nations peacekeeping force give testimony that there is nothing they could do to stop Kagame's army massacring thousands of people as they watched. 8,000 people lost their lives on that day, and that is a number which many dispute and in fact say more died. Some of the people who were there say that some of the bodies were carried into the Nyungwe forest and burned, and so in fact many more people lost their lives on that day. The president of Rwanda at the time, Bizimungu, who was in actuality not the president but just a puppet, turned up at the scene shortly after and was told only 300 people died. He then announced that only 300 people died, as if the death of 300 Rwandans is not enough to be a tragedy. But unfortunately, that was not the real number. At least 8,000, mostly women and children, were massacred on this day. Eyewitness accounts of the soldiers that were part of the United Nations mission say that the soldiers came and they opened fire on the crowd. Now the place was enclosed and these people could not run anywhere. And bodies started piling upon bodies piling, women and children being slaughtered by a barrage of bullets, only for the soldiers to take a short lunch break and continue shooting until the hours of the evening. This is a tragedy like many other tragedies that took place in Rwanda, but this is one that has completely been ignored by the international community. Whilst Kagame travels from capital to capital around the world, being given honorary doctorates and awards, Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International have said that this is a man that leads a regime that is oppressive. A regime that did not only stop killing in 1995, but continues to kill even today, not only confined to Rwanda, but also to the neighboring countries of Burundi, Uganda, the Congo, and Tanzania. The United Nations, whose peacekeepers stood by and watched as these innocent people were massacred, authored a report in 2010 called the Mapping Report, in which Kagame and his army are accused of a genocide of millions of people in the Congo, and yet nothing has been done. Our children and the future generations will ask hard questions as history looks upon this time and says, how could people be massacred, and yet the culprits are walking free? Not only are they not facing justice, but they are actually applauded. The 22nd of April, 1995, 24 years ago, is a tragic day in the history of Rwanda, one of many. And I ask, as you view these photographs, as you listen to this tragic past, that you will not be counted among those that looked away whilst evil took place in this world. That you will not be counted among those that stayed silent whilst criminals ran rampant in this world. Paul Kagame
Very stable there.
Mesa. Mesa.
Yes, sir. Let's go.
Laura. A bit of a wash?
Yeah, it's
already had a wash.
Some place where you give a bit of space to have a sleep, you know?
Tshisekedi is not the problem. I'm gonna show you the two speech or two former presidents before Tshisekedi. All of them, they have one thing in common. He was refusing and fight against Rwandan government for killing people in Congo, for killing people for no reason, for stealing gold and diamond and the other material. So, and the first speech I'm going to share with you is in the French language. The former president of Congo, DRC Congo, Desire Kabila, he stand in public and say, and tell all Congolese to try to take any gun they can be able to afford and rise against Rwandan government. In conclusion, in fact, he said, if we don't rise to against these people, we as Congolese, we are going to be slaves of Tutsi tribe from Rwanda. That was the speech of Desire Kabila, the former president of Congo. Of course, he has been assassinated. The second speech I'm going to share with you is the speech of his son, also who Joseph Kabila, President Joseph Kabila of Congo. Also, he said in a brief, said that he doesn't want any people from other nation. And of course, I think he was so afraid to mention Rwanda in the name. He said, we don't need them to come to fight in Congo. And he said, Congo, we have everything we need. So, and everything you want, you have nothing to look in Rwanda. Only foreign land. Said, neighbors, and the neighbor is wanted to say is Rwanda and Uganda, because those years, you know, those people, they was causing trouble in Congo. He told them, please, we don't want a war with you. So, in this, I want to say that Tshisekedi is not the problem. And will never be the problem. So, I believe this documentary movie, or this documentary history of DRC Congo and Rwanda, is going to open your eye that you can be able to pray for DRC Congo. It's going to open your eye that you can be able to know what is wrong in DRC Congo. And God bless you for standing with DRC Congo. Amen. Allow me to ask this question. Just assume, for example, you were from the tribe of Hutu in those years, 1995 all the way to 1998. As you can see, how people they was being killed by the army of RPF. Would you remain in the country? And here the problem wasn't just for the Hutu tribe. This was the question for everyone who was Rwandan, and especially who were educated, who used to hold any title in any office. And let me conclude saying that even let me include saying that even for the people who was a Tutsi, who used to have any title, who used to have education level, they were being killed with RPF, the people who claim actually to fight for the right of Tutsi those years, and to protect them. And you can get it. So we are heading now where we are going to see now how Kagame established a new estate in Congo, which have the same assignment to make sure that they killed everyone who was a Hutu. And in the same way, once they get in the Congo, they was doing two things. There was a killing, a stealing, and all those, the question was happening in DRC. For example, I can say that the chair which used to be in the house of former president of Congo, Mobutu Sese Seko, was taken in Rwanda with one of the guy who used to have a good ranker called Dan Gapfis. For some reason, he done some mistake in Rwanda. He was assassinated by the government of Rwanda some years back. Remember, I said that if it was something I would skip, is not to involve in the history of Rwanda. But I choose to do this for glory of God. Now, we are in Congo. You are see what is happening in Congo. You can see how many people, how they are being killed by the army of Rwanda. You can see how they are being taken in a wrong direction. UN could not say, human rights could not have no word. The people who was around could say nothing because they established the propaganda that actually everyone who fled from Rwanda was done genocide. So in case even you found that someone is well murdered or is about to be murdered, you will not ask any question because you know that person was a genocider committed in Rwanda. And now you can understand. These people, they have seen how, Rwanda has seen how government of Rwanda is killing people in Rwanda. Rwandan who was in Congo have seen also how Rwanda, the government of Kagame, is killing people in Congo. Now, for example, if you get opportunity to run away, would you be able to back in that country? I know everyone gonna say no. And that is the truth. So I did not want to comment about how the people that was being put in jail. Either you have a mistake or you don't have a mistake. You'll be put in jail and no one will come to ask about you. And all those things was taking over in Rwanda. And why am I highlight this is because I want to tell you that Rwanda was not a safe country for any person, either Tutsi who has been in the country. Rwanda was not the best country for Tutsi or Hutu, especially who has been inside the country. So, also same to Congo. It wasn't the right place for Congo, for Rwanda in Congo, because also these people come and thrown over Mobutu from the throne, and then they take power. So then they start murder the people in different way. So therefore, that is what I wanted to say. As I conclude, either for some reason, because the people, they don't die at the same time. Either there is Rwandan who has tried to hide themselves in a different way in Congo, a different place, and right now they are alive. So now, what is it fear Kagame have? Kagame fear and his government is that these people who are in Congo as a refugee, they can come and decide to be in power, especially because you know the way he used it for coming in power. So he's so afraid that actually these people will come back. Of course, definitely they will go because they left their property for some reason, they left everything. So he has so afraid, he's making sure now that at least as he still gold and the diamond, any person he meet and he found out that is Rwanda, he will make sure he send him in here. I'm sorry, that is how I view it. And emphasizing, my prayer is not to pray for Rwanda. My prayer is to pray for Congo. And I want you and I to stand and pray for Congo. Let me tell you, the only way you can help me, and there is many ways you can help me, but one of the ways you can help me is to do subscribe, like, share and comment and watch it, and emphasizing, pray for DRC. Pray for DRC. But in those years, honestly speaking, there is no propaganda for people to go in Congo to free away. No. What was happening in Rwanda is what caused the Rwandan to free going, heading to Congo. And what Rwandan seen, government of Rwanda doing in Congo, also following them and kill Congolese, is what caused even some who was a refugee there to be afraid to come back in the country. And I don't think even there is someone who will be even in position to say I'm Rwandan in Congo. You can't. You don't know which kind of person you are talking to. So, emphasizing that we are going to pray for Congo. For I want you to just take this minute, watch this story of Rwanda, watch this story of what was taking over in Congo, and understand what I mean. And then pray for Congo. Pray for Congo.
1997, Laurent Kabila became president of the DRC.
Laurent Désiré Kabila, je jure fidélité à la nation.
He came into power with an army of child soldiers trained by neighboring Rwanda. They marched across the DRC in order to overthrow the long-standing dictator, Mobutu Sese Seko. Their march began in the east of the country, on the border with Rwanda, and they walked 2,000 kilometers to reach the capital Kinshasa, where Kabila was greeted as a liberator. The West did not view the arrival of this former Marxist revolutionary as leader of the DRC in a favorable light. But Kabila imposed himself nonetheless, after Nelson Mandela steered Mobutu into retirement. The new regime soon descended into chaos. Kabila fell out with his allies. Rwanda had hoped to play some part in the management of this vast country with its plentiful natural resources in return for having provided weapons, ammunition and training for Kabila's men. But Kabila had no intention of sharing power. He drove out Rwandan troops. In turn, they created a rebel movement, the RDC, in the eastern Congo, and began a war that outlasted Kabila himself.
Mes aînés, je dirais que ce sont mon mari à la place. Vous voyez comment ils ont fait.
Vine. 3.
Más o menos. Comme ça. Caindo.
Caindo, tutaweza Mugunga. Go.
Reference 85.
Umwigireyo. Kandesha.
Kagezemo kare.
Ukomeze mugende gusa.
Bagira icyo bari. Ngira ngo tubabare.
Ici, nous prenons un peu de pause parce que nous sommes en train de marcher, nous sommes en train de chercher le refuge.
Les engagements se déroulent pour le moment. Il faut aller au-delà, il faut aller, n'est-ce pas, aux environs de kilomètres 100 pour trouver les premiers engagements. Et ça, c'est sur l'axe Bakwasé. Nous avons plusieurs axes.
Qu'est-ce que ça nous coûte? Est-ce qu'ils ont besoin d'avoir...
C'est pas vrai ce qui s'est dit, ce qui est colporté, moi j'appelle ça comme ça, à certains médias internationaux qui veulent avoir un visage d'honorabilité en racontant des mensonges. C'est pas vrai, la rébellion n'est pas à 10 km, pas du tout.